Look at that big thing.
I know.
What is it? What is that?
My microphone. It's my microphone. Yeah.
Goodness. The way you caressed that thing was a little bit alarming.
Yes.
Gentlemen, welcome back to Failing to Freedom, the YouTube channel where Antonio Centeno, my life partner and business soulmate, and I share things that we've learned over our careers and journeys to becoming financially free. We're still, slugging it out. And I think even when you find that you are successful to some degree, you always want more. You always are hungry to keep going. Even though you may have found, maybe like a niche, or you think, oh, you're more successful than your friends that you hang out with at parties, there's still something more. You want more. It's one of those sayings, what is it? You're grateful, never satisfied. Is that the saying, Antonio?
I've heard that one. I'll go with it.
All right. Well, today I want to talk about something that I think about often, and that is being married or being in a relationship and how it correlates and connects to success. You see a lot of people out there online talking about just stay single, all right? Just stay single, work on you, work on your hustle. And then eventually when you're successful, then that's the time in order to start a family, meet somebody and go down that road. But I personally feel like when I met my wife, that was one of the things that has allowed me to actually become successful and focus on the things that actually matter. And what I mean by that is up until when I met my wife, I was a little bit of a dog. I don't know if a dog is the appropriate word, but I was hot and heavy, and I was out there and I was dating. It was the internet, and I was like, whoa, this is amazing, right? So much of my energy, so much of my brain power and bandwidth was focused on getting action. And when I finally met my wife and I was able to know, okay, I've got this handled. I'm not out there looking. I'm not out there seeking. I'm not out there searching. I could focus on the things that really mattered. And I truly feel like when I got into a committed relationship, that was one of the things that allowed me the emotional freedom to focus on being successful and moving the ball, or I should say the needle forward, because I wasn't worried about going out and chasing it and getting some action. What about you, Antonio? What is your thoughts regarding how has and I also want to talk about a little bit what my wife and what your wife do for us, basically, that allows us, a little bit of freedom and able to chase that goal. But talk a little bit about your idea.
Well, I'm just thinking, chase and tail, that is a lot of energy.
It is so much.
I almost feel bad for most of my single friends because I know, guys, it has changed. I've heard people describe it as, hey, it is a war out there. And that's really sad because I had a great time when I was doing it, but I was also at a different point in my life. And I'm fortunate that I met the right person. Similar to you, Aaron, I was probably out there, testing the waters, trying quite a few things. I mean, straight up, I was a whore. I don't even remember. I lost count of the number. I have tried multiple times to be able to figure out what that number was, and I can't think about it. But I did have a realization at one point. It wasn't so much the energy. It was, what's really the point? And I had, just to let you know, I had a friend. He was in the multiple hundreds. And I'm like, that's not what I want, to grow up to be. He's going to have to go get tested all the time. And it seems pretty, what do you keep going for? The thousands? I mean, what really is the point? When you think about we're being driven by this sexual desire, this nature thing within us, are we a slave to it? Maybe I'm a philosophy major. I overthought this, but I started feeling pretty hollow inside that this is what I was doing with my time and what I was going after. For me, I did reach a point where I think I was open to a long-term relationship. And it just so turned out that I was traveling and I met a woman and I knew. Immediately. It was like, if you ever read Mario Puzo's The Godfather, he talks about the lightning bolt. He doesn't cover it in the movie, but in the book, they talk about the lightning bolt. And Michael Corleone was hit by it. And it's something that when you see somebody, you meet somebody, and you're like, yeah, everything's aligned. It's the right time for you. Maybe it's the right time for them. I don't know if it was the right time for her, but I told her, and I wrote her a letter. I'm going to marry her. Within 48 hours, pretty much meeting her.
And she didn't speak English.
She did. It was more to a degree. It was 10% of what she speaks
She's
now.
Ukrainian, for those of
She's
you
Ukrainian.
out there that
I was
did not know.
traveling throughout that country. And this was couch surfing back in 2001 before couch surfing was really popular. Ended up working out. So it's a great love story. And now we've got 5 kids, or my 2 nephews. We're living, I think, the dream here in Wisconsin. Point being is when you've got the right person on your side, it makes starting and running a business so much easier, because somebody that can deal with your crap, somebody that is supporting you when you probably don't deserve it at times. There are those days that you just have a crappy day. And it's nice when you've got somebody that is there to take care of you, to back you up. And of course, you need to reciprocate and take care of them. And I'm fortunate that I realized early on I need to be, taking care of this permit. But yeah, it takes so much off of where you're spending time and energy, and I can direct that energy into my business. I was just talking to a single friend, like right before this call. And what is he going to do during the holidays? He's just going to be hustling. He's going to be working more, doing all this stuff. And in his mind, that sounds productive. But I have found that when you make a commitment to somebody and you've got other things outside of business that are more important than the business, the great part is it forces you to make this decision of, well, my business is only going to get this amount of time, and therefore I need to only focus in on what matters. And you let a lot of those things that don't matter, which seem like they do in the heat of the moment, but the reality is they don't. It forces you to make that decision. So I've noticed that guys that end up having kids become much more efficient. I know, Aaron, with you and Tracy, you have a lot of things that you're involved with in your community. When you find, hey, life is more than just work, all of a sudden it frees you up, I think, when you are working to hit it in a different way.
It also, I think for me, I can just speak for me. When I got together with my wife, I was not in the greatest financial position. I was struggling. I was doing the whole fitness center thing. It was not working out. She made more money than me. One of the things that attracted me to my wife was that she was a very, very hard worker. And what was that?
She was making the money. She was your sugar mama.
Yeah, exactly. She was making, good money, but she worked incredibly hard. And so one of the things for me was I just wanted to prove that I was worthy of her taking a chance on. And so, my financial ability looks very different now than it did when we got together, which is fine. But in the beginning of our relationship, it was me kind of like trying to prove that I was worth it. I was with her when I filed bankruptcy. I was with her, throughout really some of the hardest emotional points in my life. And the other interesting thing that I did was I tried to protect and shield her as much as possible from what was going on internally with me. I was very broken. I was very upset. I was not in a very good headspace at the time, and I didn't want to bring that home and basically let her know. So I did keep a lot of things in, which brings me to something else I just want to kind of, talk about for a second is when you're an entrepreneur, when you're starting a business, how much do you share and how much do you kind of show? And what I mean by that is I think a lot of times when we start the entrepreneurial journey, we get very excited, right? We want to talk about it. We want to tell people. We want to share the things that we're passionate and excited about. But there comes a point where it's very difficult for a spouse or a significant other of an entrepreneur to get as excited as you or to get as passionate. Or when you've tried multiple things, it's like, okay, sure, this one's going to be different than the last 5 things you've tried. And so for me, a lot of it did come down to me kind of just like shutting up, doing the work, and proving it as opposed to just talking about it. How much do you share, even to this day, with your significant other, Antonio, about, hard days or good things or things that you're excited about? Because I really feel like there is a balancing act that needs to be found between you and your significant other, because it can be challenging to be married to an entrepreneur.
100%. My wife knows enough about me that I could go to jail for a long time. But seriously, when you've got somebody that you can share things with and that you trust, it's amazing. I know so many guys out there, they like avoid marriage. You're going to lose half of everything. I get that. Let's just say that half of marriages, and apparently they do, end in divorce. Let's say 90% of marriages ended in divorce. But if you've got a 1% chance of nailing the lottery, wouldn't you play it? If you had a 1 in 100 and you could win $1 billion or $1 million, and the cost to play is $1 or a couple dollars. Yeah, you could lose some money. I get that, but the reality is most guys that are complaining probably don't have that much to lose. They could easily rebuild it. But if you win everything with the right person. It's not a factor of 10 or 100. I mean, this is literally like you just have days in which it changes everything. And it's hard to explain to somebody that hasn't had somebody in their life that, somebody says something bad about you and you got to hold your wife back. She's going to knife them. And you're like, yeah, I got that, and to have that person, because at the end of your days, no one, very few, it doesn't matter how many buildings you own, how much money you've got, it's people look at two things. They look at relationships and they look at impact. And to have somebody on your side that can help be a force multiplier. We have great relationships because my wife remembers every single birthday of everybody around us, and people love it. And I'm like, man, I don't have that skill. She's a force multiplier when it comes to the impact that I'm able to have, because she frees me up to earn more, and we're like a duo here. So powerful. And I feel the people I feel the hardest for, I think, are guys that want, and we've got friends in our lives, they want a relationship, but now they're so damn successful, they're paranoid that if they get a relationship with somebody, that they're getting into it just for the money or just for, the influence or whatever it is I have. I mean, I encourage people. I mean, it's never the right time. You were talking about this earlier, Aaron. There's no script. There's no breakout of how your life is going to unfold. If you meet the right person and you're 16 and, she's 15, probably wait a few years, but you shouldn't be afraid of that. If you're 60 and she's 55 or 75, there is no right path. There is just the right, I think, the right decision for you, but you've got to make it.
I love it. And that, I think, is where we're going to wrap things up. Guys, if you have a question down below, start it with question and ask it. Each week, we're going to try to start to get some of these business questions, or some of your questions may shape the content that we actually produce here on this channel. I really love doing these videos. It's more of a casual conversation with one of my best friends, and we hope that you can be a part of it. So if you don't mind, make sure to subscribe, turn those notification bells on, and make sure to tune in every Wednesday when we drop new episodes. Until next time, you're amazing. Remember that.
I'm a little sad, though, because I thought I was your best friend.
You're my best friend. Goodbye.